A newspaper is a publication of news, current events, advertisements, and other informative articles. This medium was used widely as a way to spread news before the invention of radio and television. The first ever newspaper to be recorded was the Acta Diurna in 59 BC. This was due to the orders of Julius Caesar, who wanted to be able to let the public know about upcoming events. The first modern newspapers started being publicized during the 17th century in England. There were several newspapers making its rounds, but in 1702 the Daily Courant became the first regularly occurring newspaper. During the very early days of modern newspaper, people had to handwrite the pages of their newspapers. This method was widely used in Venice because it was a huge spot for trading. These Venetian newspapers were known as Avisi or Gazette. In 1447, Johann Gutenberg invented the printing press. This allowed newspapers to be publicized on a mass level, and it was a much quicker and easier method than handwriting. This invention was crucial because it really launched newspapers into a much more modern era. Another aspect that makes newspapers so important is that in a democracy like America, they keep citizens up to date with politics and government. Since America has the First Amendment, the government cannot infringe upon the press. This amendment is possibly the most important because it keeps the government from controlling the information that citizens are exposed to.
The newspaper industry, in several ways, have produced strong profit margins, with the majority of them being ad revenues tied to their legacy. Not to mention that readers who subscribe to their favorite news channel will receive their daily papers delivered to their homes or a daily newspaper stand, which was quite affordable at the time. Newspapers have been in our daily lives for centuries, from ancient Rome carvings in stone to the early 1900s printings. Newspapers have provided readers with the news, weather, sports, and other features of info and entertainment. However, in time, subscribers began to fall, and eventually the cost went up. This led to a reduction of printed news, and so the plan to receive your daily news from online or other telegraphic sources began. In this day and age, the way people would obtain their regular news stories would be from a good-known source such as USA Today, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and Wall Street Journal. If speaking towards a more social and technical audience, most likely a good source would be a social media like Twitter or BuzzFeed. Even though the Constitution does guarantee freedom of press, the government does regulate some medias. Newspaper and magazines can print nearly anything as long as it is not slandering or showing any kind of misrepresentation to anyone or anything of the sort. How a newspaper works is quite simple, depending on the style or genre, though there is a system on writing an article. Whenever an editor has a new topic or exclusive, they have to know the key features for writing an article: the headline, the byline, the body, quotes, and photos with captions. The headline or title is basically a summary on what the article is about. Byline is the first and last name of the editor or journalist who written the article. Quotes from specific people emphasize the story, like an eyewitness of a crime or an expert of an interesting job or profession. Photos with captions are just as important, portraying the scene of the story with a well-detailed photo describing the event. Then there's the body, where the story rests, the whole event in which it tells the 4 W's: who, where, what, and when.
Over the past 2 decades, the way we consume news and information has changed drastically. Americans have gone from getting newspapers delivered to their homes every day to reading the news wherever and whenever via their mobile device. Newspapers have had to take steps toward evolution in order to survive since entering the new age of modern technology. The demand for digital and easily accessible content progressed very rapidly. In order for newspapers to survive this switch in demands, companies have begun publishing their content into a digital space. Now, a majority of people get their news and information online. In 2006, the New York Times created a mobile website for readers to access their content on their phones. In 2009, the Texas Tribune launched an online-only nonprofit organization aimed at citizen engagement. In 2016, The Independent becomes the first newspaper to switch to a digital-only future. Unfortunately, not all newspapers have been proactive in the evolution into the digital age. The Pittsburgh Tribune, Rocky Mountain News, Cincinnati Post, and many others have shut off their printers and closed its doors. Some prestigious journals like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal have survived because of pricey subscriptions and popular readership. Although the modern era has brought financial hardship for the newspaper business, it has extremely benefited the population. People are now able to access news and information at the touch of a button. People are more informed, more aware, and more involved by their ability to see or express various points of view on topics. Our craving for news has not changed, but the way we receive it has. The future of newspapers depends entirely on a business's ability to cater to the digital market and the coming age.